History books told us about tanks, planes, and bombs, but what they rarely whisper about is far stranger. Machines that defied physics, experiments that reached into dimensions we still struggle to understand. The Nazis weren't only building weapons, they were reaching for technology so advanced, some believe it was buried for good reason. If stories of hidden history, secret experiments, and unexplained technology stir your curiosity, you're in the right place. Stay with me as we peel back the layers, carefully, respectfully, and truthfully. And if you find value in uncovering these forgotten chapters, don't forget to subscribe and share this journey with others. Let us begin gently. Imagine a world in the 1930s and 40s where nations were locked in struggle. For Germany under the Nazi regime, science became more than just curiosity, it became obsession. They believed power lay not only in armies but in rewriting the very rules of nature. While other countries focused on practical innovations, the Nazis poured resources into secret laboratories, mountain hideouts, and underground facilities. Why? Because they were driven by an almost mystical belief that advanced technology would not only win them wars but also reshape humanity itself. This obsession is what makes their story so unnerving. They weren't satisfied with conventional weapons. They were searching for what we would today call breakthrough physics. On the surface, the V-2 rocket was a terrifying missile, a weapon that rained destruction on London. But beneath that, the V-2 was far more. It was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile, developed by Wernher von Braun and his team at Peenemünde. When the war ended, the Allies were stunned. Rockets that could leave the atmosphere? Computers that guided them with precision? This was decades ahead of its time. The V-2 became the seed for NASA's space program. The very technology used to explore the moon was born in the shadow of war. But this was just the beginning. The V-2 was public. What about the projects whispered about in classified files? Perhaps the most haunting mystery is Glocke, the bell, survivors, and scattered documents describe it as a bell-shaped device housed in a secret facility in Lower Silesia. It was said to be made of heavy metals, suspended with cables, and when activated, it emitted a strange glow. What did it do? Accounts vary. Some say it generated powerful anti-gravity effects. Others describe it producing a deadly radiation field. Still others whisper it was an attempt to warp time itself. The bell was supposedly powered by a substance nicknamed Cerium-525, a mercury-like material with exotic properties. Polish intelligence reported that scientists and concentration camp prisoners who worked near the bell died from terrible symptoms, suggesting exposure to something far more dangerous than ordinary radiation. And here lies the question, was this just an experimental reactor? Or did it touch forces that even now we don't fully grasp? The bell vanished at the war's end. Some believe it was taken by the Americans under Operation Paperclip. Others insist it was shipped to South America or even Antarctica. From here, the story grows stranger. Numerous accounts claim the Nazis developed early flying disc prototypes. Names like Haunebu and Vril appear in classified sketches and post-war testimonies. Were these simply jet-powered circular aircraft? Or were they attempts at anti-gravity flight, inspired by the bell's mysterious experiments? Witnesses described craft that rose vertically, hovered silently, and moved at astonishing speeds. Skeptics argue these were myths exaggerated after the war. But consider this. German engineers had already leapt ahead. With jet fighters like the Messerschmitt Me 262, they were years ahead in rocket science. Is it so hard to imagine they may have been testing exotic aircraft designs as well? For elderly villagers in post-war Germany who recalled strange lights in the sky, these were not myths, they were memories. To understand why the Nazis pursued such unorthodox technology, we must look deeper into their mindset. The Nazi leadership, particularly Heinrich Himmler and the SS, held mystical beliefs. They were fascinated by ancient civilizations, lost knowledge, and even the occult. They searched Tibet, the Arctic, and the Middle East, convinced that hidden wisdom could unlock power. Some of their projects weren't just science. They were rituals dressed in laboratory coats. Documents reveal connections between secret societies, esoteric texts, and the scientists, tasked with bending nature. This fusion of mysticism and technology created projects that today feel almost like science fiction. It is unsettling to think of brilliant minds combining physics with occult ambition, but that is exactly what fueled the darkest experiments. While whispers swirl about the bell and flying discs, One very real pursuit was nuclear energy. The Nazis poured resources into splitting the atom. They built heavy water plants in Norway and uranium labs in Berlin. Yet despite their efforts, they never achieved a functional bomb before the war ended. But here's the unsettling truth. They were closer than many realized. Post-war declassified files show that had the war lasted even a few more years, Germany might have tested a crude nuclear weapon. Some testimonies even suggest small nuclear tests may have occurred in remote regions of occupied territory. If true, the devastation could have been unthinkable. When the war ended, the Allies did not simply bury Nazi science. They harvested it. Under Operation Paperclip, the U.S. secretly brought hundreds of German scientists to America. Werner von Braun became a leader in NASA. Others worked on jet propulsion, medicine, and advanced physics. The Soviet Union did the same, capturing facilities and researchers. This means much of what the Nazis built, rocketry, aviation, nuclear research, did not vanish. It was absorbed. Some argue that America's sudden leap in technology after 1945 was no accident. The question remains, did projects like the Bell also cross the ocean in silence? Another layer of mystery lies at the edge of the world, Antarctica. In 1946, the U.S. Navy launched Operation High Jump, sending thousands of troops, ships, and aircraft to Antarctica. Officially, it was a training exercise, but rumors persist it was a hunt for hidden Nazi bases. Some researchers suggest that as the war ended, Nazi submarines carried scientists, treasures, and possibly advanced devices south. Tales of underground bases, UFO encounters, and secret battles swirl around this story. While mainstream historians dismiss much of it, the fascination endures. Why? Because so many documents remain classified, and because truth often hides in silence. Let's pause and ask, why do so many of these stories remain unclear? The simple answer, secrecy. After the war, both the U.S. and Soviet Union classified enormous amounts of data. Files about advanced Nazi projects were locked away, only fragments emerged. Why? Because some of the technology was integrated into Cold War programs, some was simply too dangerous, and some perhaps was so experimental, it remains unexplained even today. The official narrative paints the Nazis as reckless experimenters, but the sheer speed of their technological leap suggests there was more, something worth hiding. Now let us reflect. The Nazi pursuit of advanced technology reminds us of a sobering truth. Knowledge without ethics is dangerous. They harnessed brilliance, but for destruction. Yet from their science also came human progress. Rockets that once carried warheads now carry astronauts. Jet engines once designed for combat now power civilian aircraft. The lesson is balance. Technology is a tool. In the wrong hands, it becomes nightmare. In the right hands, it carries humanity to the stars. This is why some of these secrets were buried, not because they were myths, but because humanity was not ready. As we look back, we see a haunting picture. The Nazis weren't just building tanks and planes. They were rewriting physics, blending science with mysticism, and pushing boundaries we still barely understand. From rockets to the Bell, from nuclear research to flying discs, their legacy is a reminder of how close humanity came to unleashing forces we could not control. And so we ask ourselves, how much of that knowledge still shapes our world today? Quietly, invisibly behind the curtain of official history? The truth, as always, lies in the shadows.